Tom Vasel here, and welcome back to Best of Publishers. Today we're taking a look at Kosmos games. Now, I've already done a Kosmos Best of Publisher list, but that one I want to focus on their line of two-player games, of which they did over 40 of them. So those are not included today in this list. These are the games that are outside their two-player game series, which was fantastic. Now, Kosmos, or Jameson Kosmos, has made some fantastic games over the year. They are most well known for one game in particular. And I'm going to start with that game as my number 10, and that is the Settlers of Catan. Now, Catan has since, it's been morphed, like in America, Catan was made by Mayfair for a while, then they sold it to Asmodee, but Kosmos was the one who originally put Catan out, or Settlers of Catan. And when this game came out from Claude Stoiber, this was just a phenomenon, right? There's very few games that have ever hit the ground as hard and changed the landscape of gaming as much as this one had done. Now, as time has gone by, this is kind of cool to hate on Catan, right? Oh, well, Catan, well, you know, which is really funny because in '95, people were talking about how amazing it was and they were hating on Monopoly at the time. I still think this game is great. It's come out with a gazillion expansions, of which some of them are really well done. You can skip the 5 to 6 player expansions. You can skip probably Cities and Nights, although some people love it. But the Fishermen of Catan, Seafarers of Catan, some of the very specific Catan games that have come out over the years, they're a lot of fun. And this game, someone will come up to me and go, oh, you review board games. Have you ever heard of this game called Settlers of Catan? And I'm like, yes, and I'm joyful because I know how much happiness this game has brought to people. It's one of the few games where you're involved the whole game. Every time a die is rolled, you're like, oh, I hope it's my number. The trading is fun and interesting. It is just a wonderful game, and it's my number 10. Number 9 from Kosmos is a newer one from them called Steam Time, which had a bit of time travel in it, although, you know, still not what I'd want it to be, where you're going around. This is almost like the best way to describe Steam Time, I think, is it's like a point salad game. We're getting points from a lot of different places, but it's not as heavy as many of those games often are, or as involved. In this one, you're building machines and going around and getting different things and accomplishing missions. And I just thought there was a lot. This is kind of an underrated game, I think, from Kosmos, but one I enjoyed, Steam Time. Number 8 is North Wind. Now, if you watch my two-player Kosmos list, one of the games I really enjoyed was Starfarers of Catan. North Wind takes the Starfarers part out, puts a pirate theme on it, and makes it multiplayer. It's probably not as good and tight as Starship Catan. It's probably not as tight as a game of Starship Catan, but it still uses a lot of things I like. You have this ship, you will slowly be adding cannons and things to it, and then going out exploring and searching for things. It's a really neat concept of a game. I really enjoy it. That is North Wind. Number 7 is Hart and der Grenz. Now, this game, which I probably just mangled the pronunciation of, was fixed, had the theme change, and has come out. It's called Sheriff of Nottingham. But the original version of it, Hart and der Grenz, I remember playing this one, where you're smuggling goods across the U.S.-Mexican border in a very un-PC fashion, but you had these little metal suitcases, and you were sticking cards in there, and you were like, oh, yes, I promise you there's just sombreros in here, but there was tequila. I really had a lot of fun with this game, so much. Now, Sheriff of Nottingham is a better, refined game, but it all started from this wonderful game. Number 6 is Starfarers of Catan. I was just mixing this up with Starship Catan, which is a two-player. Starfarers of Catan was the space version of Settlers of Catan. Now, I like it better. It is longer. It's probably a smidgen too long. But in this game, you have these spaceships, rockets that are flying across the galaxy and uncovering areas where you can build bases. And then, of course, it's the normal Catan where you roll dice and get resources. But what I really like about this game is you get this big three-dimensional rocket ship, like a Retro's 1950 rocket ship, and you are actually physically adding guns and engines and different parts to this rocket ship, which give you bonuses over the course of the game. It is a fantastic visual. It has a neat encounter system where you would run and cross things, and there's some cool storylines to it. It's a really great game, and unfortunately out of print, but I do love it. Starfarers of Catan. Number 5 is Blue Moon City. Now, Blue Moon is a two-player card game, which Z Garcia reviewed a couple weeks ago. Blue Moon Legends is the final version of that. I was never a big fan of it. It just felt like a somewhat updated version of War. The artwork was really, you know, well done, but didn't really seem to have any kind of theme to me. Well, Blue Moon City didn't add the theme, but Blue Moon City did add a really good game. Reina Knizia just did a great job as you're building this city, and you have this deck of cards, and each card is used to build different things, but the cards also, instead of building the different buildings, can be used to do special abilities. You're flying dragons around, moving workers around. Just a really good combo of excellent choices. It doesn't last very long. It's a solid game, Blue Moon City. Number 4 was just nominated for the Spiel des Jahres last year, and that is Imhotep. Imhotep is a game about building pyramids and different structures in ancient Egypt, and you're doing so with simple actions. Take a couple cubes, put a cube on a boat, or sail a boat, which will possibly have actions. It's a really simple concept, but offers a lot of strategy. This is one of those games that's a perfect gateway game. It's like you've never played games before. Let me show you this one. In fact, Kosmos is one of the kings at the gateway games, hence Catan. But Imhotep is another really strong contender there, and I'm really been enjoying it. Number 3 is Through the Desert. Now, Through the Desert was picked up by Fantasy Flight in America, and I think they still are publishing it, and they actually really made the box small. But Through the Desert was originally produced by Kosmos in a big yellow box. And I remember the first time I opened it up and saw all those pastel-colored camels, and I was like, whoa, this looks interesting. And then I was like, wow, there's no theme to this game at all. All you do in your turn is put out 2 camels. That's it. 2 camels, 2 camels, 2 camels, 2 camels, 2 camels. But after that, it was like, wow, this game's amazing. Go, I love Go, but Go is brain melty for me. This game has some similarities to Go, but it's a lot easier to get into. But I still think it offers a lot of strategy as you are stretching out lines of camels, trying to have the longest line of different colored camels, trying to run over different points areas on the board, to cut off areas of the board. There's a lot going on. The game scales really well. It's Through the Desert. Number 2 is Domain. This is the lesser-known game from Klaus Teuber because everyone knows about Catan. But Domain is a game which was first came out as Lowenherz, but this was the reprint of it, Domain. And in this game, you are building sectioning off different areas, building your own domains, and you build these kingdoms, and you're trying to build it out as big as possible. Other people are trying to build theirs. Once you get them, then you're trying to increase and steal land from the other person, and you fight back and forth. The concept's simple: play a card, spend the money to play it, or sell a card and get the money for that. But when you sell a card, other people can pick that up and then play it. Good concepts, simple, fun. In my collection still, Domain. And my favorite game from Kosmos, which is being reprinted this year, is The Pillars of the Earth. I had never even heard of the book until this game came out. I've since read the book that this game is based on. It does a good job at it, I think. But even without knowing the book at all, I enjoyed this worker placement game, which still there's not very many games like, where you pull the workers from a bag and then place them. So it seems like it'd be unfair if you get yours pulled first, but you had to pay money if yours were placed first. So sometimes placing first puts you at a disadvantage. It's a solid, beautiful production, a lot of fun. Cannot wait for the reprint of this. So those are my 10 favorite Kosmos games out of their 2-player line anyway. They're one of I think the most important companies in the industry. Really, there's a lot of companies in Germany, but Kosmos has been at the forefront. I mean, yes, a lot of that is the Catan machine, whether it's their main Settlers of Catan or all the different various offshoots of it, but it is a mega house. But they've always been known for making these games that people can get into, that are not too complex, that are fun and entertaining, and I'm glad for it. They have great components. I'm really glad that the Thames and Kosmos company is making inroads, and we're seeing their stuff show up in America. It's exciting to me. So, what's your favorite games? What games did I miss? Tell me in the comments below. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and this has been Best of Kosmos.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.